You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
Greetings and welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. Today's topic is the Impossible Project and the rebirth of instant camera photography. Joining John Harris and I are Patrick Tobin, who's the logistics manager for the Impossible Project, and George Weiss, a photographer who uses instant film photography in his wedding and other commercial work. I can honestly say that Polaroids have been part of my life forever. Some of the earliest snapshots of me growing up were taken with my Uncle Jerry's Polaroid Model 95, the very first Polaroid made. And back in school, I often had an SX70 or Polaroid 680 with me. And when I went pro, I had a Polaroid back for each of my camera systems, including a hacked Nikon F3. Then digital came along and Polaroid went poof, along with a bunch of other analog and film camera companies. Film is dead, long live Tri-X and Instax. And then you guys come along from Impossible. What were you thinking? Patrick, if you could give us, first of all, a background of Polaroid and the transitions it went through, and then how you guys got into it, because this is a very, very strange story.
As you said, digital came along. I think that the Polaroid company maybe wasn't ready 100% for that, for how ubiquitous digital would become.
I think they made some stabs at cameras that might have been,
they did,
but nothing caught on.
Yeah, and even they stopped making film in 2008. Even up through 2005, they were 2006. They were still trying out new formats. They had in the maybe early 2000s. I want to say like 2003, 2004, they introduced the Joy-Cam, which was a different, smaller format film. Then they introduced an even smaller film called iZone, which was very, very small strips with stickers. The photos were
postage stamps,
stickers, basically. Yeah. But I think that they maybe weren't, like I said, 100% prepared for that. For digital to become the beast that it has become, you know what I mean? So basically they made the decision to phase out their instant film in the 70s, 80s, 90s. There was no digital, and so if you wanted a photo right away, you had to buy instant, and they really dominated the market for that, of course. And then the audience was shrinking, I think, gradually, and it probably just didn't make sense financially to keep the machinery producing as much film as it was producing.
Especially when the cameras were all sitting at yard sales with $2 price tags on them. So they made the decision actually a couple years prior to when they announced the discontinuation of the film, which was in February of 2008. They had already stopped ordering some of their chemical components and negative sheet, things like that. Some of the raw materials that actually go into what we know as an instant photo. So they made that announcement in 2008 that they were going to stop making the 600 film. They had already discontinued the SX70 film in 2006, but they had continued making the 600 film. They announced that they were going to phase that out, and the user base, while it is smaller than it was in the 70s, 80s, there's still there was still and still is now a dedicated fan base and of artists and creatives who wanted to use this format. Did they stop making cameras before they stopped making film?
Yeah, I think that the last camera was probably made in I want to say maybe like 03, 04, they stopped making cameras, I want to say.
Okay, so they just started making camera food after that.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. But what happened basically is the founders of what is now Impossible, Florian Kaps and Andre Bozeman, they actually met at the closing party at the factory, the last remaining Polaroid factory, which is in the Netherlands in Enschede, and afterwards got together and tried to figure out a way to keep this going.
Now, they
And-
weren't just passing through. They were at that closing party
No,
because
yeah.
they already had a deep interest, obviously, in it.
Right. So Florian Kops was actually, before we were Impossible, we were Pola Premium. Before that, we were Unsaleable, which some people might remember. Some diehard users might have bought some film from those sites. It was Unsaleable was a website, and then Pola Premium. And basically, what we did then was we sold off some of the last stocks of the Polaroid brand film.
It's a clearinghouse.
Right. So this was 600 film, from the last runs. It was some special edition SX70 Time Zero film, some of the peel apart film, Type 80 film, Type 100 film from the factory in Mexico, which had closed already, by the way, at this point. And then this happened where Andre and Florian met, and Andre actually was working at the Polaroid factory at the time, and they got some private investors together and made their case that this is still an important product.
How do you do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Seriously, that was one of the big things we were talking about here. It's like, I'd love to hear what kind of a line do you have to deliver to have people put money into an entity that is they're about to close the top of the coffin on this thing.
Yeah, well, you know what though? Here's the thing: is so
obviously.
Polaroid,
Really?
huge company with this huge production scale. For a smaller company to buy the factory, I mean, there's obviously that initial investment in the factory and the production machinery, which is what we have from Polaroid.
But just the
to make
film.
the film on a much smaller scale, which is what we do, it's doable, I think, for a smaller company. And we've actually done pretty well. I mean, the film has come a long way. As I mentioned earlier, Polaroid had stopped ordering their chemical components. Some of them were made in-house. Some of them were sourced from outside manufacturers. And they had stopped ordering these a couple years prior. So when our founders came along, the machinery was there, the factory was there.
what year was
it's
this?
working. This was 2008.
Okay.
So the machinery was there, the factory's there. It can be turned on, but the raw materials were either no longer available or hard to source or environmentally unfriendly in some cases. So they basically had to start from scratch. Reverse engineer the film that Polaroid had been making and try to make a new product that looks similar and feels similar.
Were
but
folks at Polaroid helpful? Do you know? Was there a collaboration at all? Or?
Honestly, I don't know what they could have done. A lot of people, when we tell them about how our film is made of different chemistry and different handling is required too. During development, the film is light sensitive, for example, so you need to just cover it, put it in a pocket or bag to
So
develop.
this is not the same, even though they look like the
Outward
Polaroids,
appearances aside, it's almost all new materials and
everything
chemistry.
under the skin is new.
Yep.
Okay.
So when we tell people that, and the development time is a little bit longer too. When we tell people that, they say, "Well, why didn't you just use the Polaroid formula?" And it, it really wasn't that simple. It wasn't a matter of, people ask about patents too. Well, they didn't give you the patents. That's not the question really. We have the machinery. We're the only company now that has the machinery to make this classic square film. But it's just that like I said, the raw materials weren't there, and the film has come a long way. The first film was introduced in March of 2010, and only black and white originally, and it was a beautiful, beautiful film, but much more experimental. A little bit harder to use, and then gradually over the last 6 years. Our chemists, our factory team, they're constantly working and tweaking things, and every subsequent batch is better than the last with
Must be
improvements.
nice to be kind of at this moment, right? To see
Exactly.
the
Right now,
developments.
we're at
Yeah.
a great place.
Right.
I've been with the company a little over 5 years, so most of the
You've seen it all.
the iterations of the film, I've been there for. I actually started the week that we launched our first color 600 film, which was called PX680, First Flush. That was the name of the film. And the new stuff we have now, we just launched a brand new film line across the board for all formats on May 10th in conjunction with the new camera, the i1.
And how many different types of films are available now?
So we make film for the 600 cameras, which is probably the one that most people think of when you say Polaroid. And also SX70 cameras, which were first introduced in 1972. Also Spectra cameras, which are a little bit wider format. You may remember those. Those were introduced in 1986. We got very lucky and found an 8x10 film machine in one of the warehouses in Massachusetts a couple years ago. So we do make 8x10 film.
Have you ever shot it? George, have you shot the 8x10 stuff?
I have not.
Has anybody?
I have shot
We
the
have,
older
yeah.
8x10 film, and I want to come back to this because that's an
No, believe it or not, like we do have people who, artists who use our 8x10 film. We do color and black and white. And then we've also just launched, as we were discussing before, the film that works in the vintage cameras, so the 600 SX70 Spectra. The battery that powers the camera is in the film cartridge. There's no battery in the camera.
Right.
Now our line of cameras that we're now selling, the i1, the Instant Lab, those have rechargeable lithium batteries in them. So we're actually making a film now specifically for those cameras that does not have a battery in them too. So
which will theoretically be less expensive to
it is.
purchase.
Yep,
So
it is.
can we talk a bit about the cameras then?
Sure.
Because, just kind of go through the models that you have. What
You
are sourced, what are
originally
manufactured?
had a
stuff
whole
like that.
bunch of leftover stock of Polaroid cameras, or some, right? Or
Maybe
or
some,
they all
but-
refurb.
No, I mean, what we sell now, everything is refurbished. They're vintage pre-owned cameras. They go through a lengthy process of testing and cleaning up, repairing if necessary, and we have our own warranty that they come under as well.
Who makes parts for these?
I don't even know where they get the parts for them when necessary, other than
Other yard
damaged
sale cameras.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
I think in most cases, they're just pulling from, because we also have a grading system. Some cameras, we get them from all over the place. Yard sales, flea markets, thrift
So
stores.
people, if you're listening out there, right,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of Send them
eBay. There are so many. I don't even remember the exact number. It's hundreds of thousands of these cameras out there, right?
yeah.
It might even be more
Millions,
than
I
that. Millions.
think.
Every
Yeah.
yard
and
sale, you
just-
could find them.
yeah.
They're there.
And are people just sending them to you or contacting you and saying, hey, we have them?
yeah.
And you have a team of people that are making offers and,
Yeah,
and
so-
buying and
Right. So we actually our refurbishment process is done by a company called Retrospect in Milwaukee. They repair cameras. They do our refurbishing and send the cameras to us. But that's how they source the cameras. As I mentioned, eBay, thrift stores, flea markets. And what I was saying is we have a grading process. So some cameras come in and they look perfect. They might have a little bit of a scuff on them here and there. Cosmetically, they look great. They work great. So we of course clean them up and make them look as good as new and sell those. But then other cameras we get might be damaged. They might have a face that is really scratched up, and so we wouldn't sell that. Instead,
You cannibalize
They
them.
would exactly. They
Yeah.
would break that open and take anything that they need out of there. The flash unit, the any of the lens components. Some of the models have a sliding close-up lens, so they can take all that stuff. The faceplate. I've actually seen a camera opened up completely and taken apart and then put back together, and there's a lot of
I'm sure.
good stuff in there that we can reuse.
So then what's available? What models are out there?
So we basically sell all cameras that we make film for, any of the formats we make film for. So if you go to our site, you can find several different models. Polaroid made so many different cameras. For example, the 600 cameras, there are so many different cosmetic differences where essentially the camera is the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the
all
shape
paint
is
jobs.
similar. Yeah, exactly. They might have different color schemes or they change the name. I mean, some of them do have different features, but essentially it's the same camera. But you can get Sun 660s, which were the autofocus models. We have what's called a one-step close-up that was introduced in the early 90s, and that has that sliding close-up lens I mentioned, which unlike digital, we're used to being able to take our iPhone and shoot a picture of something couple inches away from it. This was old technology. The sliding close-up lens allows you to get as close as 2 feet. Otherwise, it would be 4 feet to infinity. But so a number of different 600 cameras. We also sell the SX70 series, and that would include the original, which is the chrome-plated plastic with the tan leather. That's that classic one. We have sonar models with the sonar autofocus, alpha models where they don't have the chrome plating necessarily, and they might have an ivory plastic body with some brown leather. Then also the Spectra cameras.
And do you sell most of the cameras do you sell them yourselves, or do you sell them through other, like I know B&H obviously sells them. But,
well, I mean, we do have a direct sale online shop where we sell all of our items, all the film, all the cameras that you could, be looking for. You can find at our site, which is impossibleproject.com. But then also we do have a big wholesale department where we have retailers that carry either the film or the cameras or both.
And you never know what cameras you're really getting. If when we order them, we're ordering refurbished cameras. So
no, not necessarily. I mean, we do have several different types. For wholesale, generally we have just the standard 600. The black-bodied, square-shaped cameras. And some of the Spectra full switches I think are available through some wholesale retailers. Some carry the SX70s. But then also, through our site, I mean, you do get the standard square box type, with what we call a black flash. That's one you're going to find regularly in retail stores, or like the one-step close-up I mentioned before. For the full line, I mean, you'd probably want to check out our site because we have many different, as I said, different color combinations and things like that.
And would you consider you consider yourselves a film company more than a camera company.
Right, but the fact is, in order to use our film, you need a camera.
But so the I1 is, you manufacture that.
That's our new camera, right?
Is the only camera you are actually manufacturing, right?
So, not the only camera. No. The Instant Lab was our first camera. It's not a traditional camera. Right. You don't actually take pictures with the
Explain
device.
what it is, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we launched this. We actually did a really successful Kickstarter for this at the end of 2012. Basically, this camera allows you to take an image from your smartphone or your tablet and expose it onto our film. People look at it and they think it's a printer. It's really not a printer. It has a lens in it. Yeah. It's kind of like an enlarger. I mean, basically what the camera is doing is it's taking an image with its lens of your phone screen using the projected light from the screen. And you have some
examples here, and they look great.
They do look good.
They look pretty nice.
So basically, any digital image you have, either taken with your phone or taken with an SLR, digital SLR, as long as you can get it on your phone, you can use use our free app to expose it onto our film, and the app allows you to select your which speed film you're using. So, for example, we make, as I mentioned, the SX70 film, which is a slower ASA. That's about 160 ASA. Our film is for the SX70. You can use that. We also have the 600 film, which is 640 ASA. You can use that. And the beauty of it is that in the app, you select which film you're using, and then the app will adjust the exposure time based on the film speed you're using so that you get an accurate exposure. So that was the first camera that we released. That was 2013 we released that. And then this is the I1 we just released on May 10th, the first real viewfinder camera that we've made. This is a first in many ways. I mean, it's the first instant camera to have a ring flash on it, which is really beautiful, really good for portraits. It's got a simple pop-up optical viewfinder. It's very compact. It's very light.
And it really looks like a rotary dial phone.
Yeah, I said the same thing. Yeah, without the handset.
Without the handset on it.
Right.
I love the design.
With the handset. Just put it right on top like that. Yeah. It's a lot smaller than it looks, because we have it on our site, and we even talked about it on another episode.
It is smaller. Yeah.
It's a lot more compact,
and it's
than
very light. So this is nice because it has, most of the Polaroid cameras are fixed focus. I'm talking about the box type cameras like the 600. Yeah. These are fixed focus cameras. This camera has 5 lenses in it on a wheel, and it uses infrared autofocus. So basically, similar to the old Polaroid SX70 sonars or the SLR 680, which you mentioned, you press down halfway to focus.
Yes.
that will get that basically the infrared bulbs that are on the front in the ring flash. It's okay. Yeah,
You
experiment.
broke it, you own
no,
it.
you're good.
Actually, do one so people can hear it.
Yeah. You got to hear that sound. This beautiful sound. Yeah. There we go.
That's the sound.
So this camera will actually use the infrared, get a reading on how far away the subject is, and communicate to the camera which of the 5 lenses to rotate into place, which is really nice.
And the difference between those lenses?
They're basically focal zones. So there's a macro lens for about I think the minimum focal distance on this is just about a foot, which is pretty good also in comparison to the 600 cameras, which, as I mentioned, were generally 4 feet, 3 or 4 feet to infinity. But so there's a macro lens for close-ups. There's a portrait lens, a group lens,
Are
landscape.
the focal lengths changing, or is it just
Yes.
the focal the focus point?
The focus point, basically. I mean, depending on how far the subject is. So when George just took a photo of me, I'm maybe 3 feet away from you, right? Maybe not even. So it was probably on the portrait lens. However, if I was to take a photo of John, it probably would just be on the group lens because of the distance.
So rather than autofocus, it chooses a lens
It rotates a lens
based
in
on
the
the,
base.
the distance of the subject, right?
And
Finally,
can you control that manually as well?
You can. So
Yeah,
I,
of
that
course,
that
yeah.
actually is a good segue. So
All right.
the other feature with this camera is Bluetooth mode, and the Bluetooth mode allows you to connect to our free app as well. And through the app, you can do several different things that you could never do before with a camera for this format. There is a tripod, so you can affix it to a tripod, put it on a table. There's a remote shutter button. There's self-timer. There's manual mode, which answers your question. In manual mode, you can select your aperture. You can select your shutter speed, which of the 5 lenses you want to use. The flash strength, you can select all that stuff. There's also some creative extra things you can do. There's a noise trigger, so basically the mic on your phone will pick up ambient noise. You can set an audio threshold, and once the ambient noise crosses that mark, that will trigger the camera. There is light painting mode, so you can basically leave the shutter open if you're in a dark room and using your phone's flashlight, draw.
I want to see those.
Yeah.
That's probably great. Yeah.
So this, I mean, you don't need the app to use the camera. You can use this just like you would
When
with
did you
any of the
introduce
old
the
cameras. In conjunction with the camera, yeah. So May 10th.
But that's but the app that because you spoke about the app earlier, and that is the app.
There's 2 apps
Listen,
actually.
okay.
There's one app that is for the Instant Lab,
Right.
and that's a separate app. And then there's the i1 app, and that contains all the features I just mentioned here.
How do you differentiate from what Fuji's offering right now?
So our film is just made of a very different chemistry. It's a different technology also. The Fuji Instax film exposes through the back of the negative. So if you've seen those cameras, they will eject the image from the top of the camera with the negative facing your subject. So they expose through the back. The dimensions are different. The chemicals are different. The color palette's a little bit different. It's really more of if you're trying to decide what you are looking for, it's more of an aesthetic thing, as I said, the colors are a little bit different, the dimensions are different. Our film is this square format that people associate with the Polaroid and that people grew up with. So there's definitely a nostalgic pull, I think, for our format film. But and it's just different with Fuji stuff because they either make the Instax Mini, which is small pictures, they're about the size of a business card, and then they make the Instax Wide, which is wider than the Spectra format that we make, maybe a little bit narrower.
The Instax line, as you may or may not have heard, is it was the biggest seller for Fuji, and of course they're putting out great digital cameras right now also. So that's kind of interesting. But you guys are taking a different approach.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a short break. Come back, we're going to talk with George Weiss about his photography and how he is incorporating instant photographs into his workflow.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the B&H Photography Podcast. Send us a tweet at BHPhotoVideo, #BHPhotoPodcast.
Okay, we are back. George, tell us a little bit about how you stumbled into using instant prints in your workflow, which is predominantly weddings. Is that correct?
Yep. Weddings and portraits. Initially, a friend had found an SX70 at their grandparents' house, I think, and brought it to me and said, "You're a photographer. Do you want to do anything with this?" And I mean, the camera looked cool, and I was really excited about it, but I didn't have really too much knowledge about.
I was going to ask you, any familiarity with it? It was just,
I mean, I have Polaroids of myself growing up, and you know, like in the photo albums, and I've used the cameras as a
when
child.
you started, did you start as a digital photographer, or did you try
Yeah, so
35?
the first, I mean, I took photo classes in high school, and you know, did 35 millimeter darkroom stuff.
Some
and,
familiarity
yeah,
with it.
I loved all that. But when I first started shooting professionally, I did the first 2 years pretty much all digital. Right. Getting the SX70 was kind of the turning point of going like analog as a whole. I get tired of the digital versus film argument because I think both have a place in the world.
Now, you mentioned earlier that in your wedding photography, you shoot digital, you shoot film, and you shoot the instant prints.
Yeah, I shoot a few different mediums of analog. And
what came first? Now, shooting the Polaroid, did that lead you to going back to film, which you really didn't have any experience with, right?
Just high school photography classes in the darkroom and things like that. But so getting the SX70, I think this was around 2007 or 8 before Impossible was impossible. And I was just Googling, trying to find...
You mean impossible was possible, or probable.
I'm lost now.
I'm sorry to go back to this, but is it just Impossible or the Impossible Project?
Well, the full name of the company is the Impossible Project.
Okay.
I
Which is
mean,
a great name,
we just refer to ourselves sometimes as Impossible. Also, you know, the film is branded with just our Impossible logo with the backwards P. So anything is fine, really. Impossible Project. Impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, George.
Yeah, no worries. So got the SX70, and I was looking around for film, and it was like Polaroid film was really hard to get, and that's when I think I found Pola Premium, and I remember ordering some TZ Artistic, which is one of the films that was made with leftover chemistry right from the factory, and just taking those first few pictures, and seeing what came out was like these tones that I couldn't imagine, and maybe you could emulate that with digital, but you'd spend a lot of time in Lightroom and Photoshop and still wouldn't be close to the real thing. So getting that and just taking portraits of people and just using it here and there, and when I was traveling, really got me interested in analog in general. So at that point, which was about 2 years of shooting weddings, I started shooting more 35 millimeter and medium format, and basically I was a hybrid shooter for a long time, and I still am to an extent where, most of the day will be shot on film, but then the reception I'll shoot digital just because it's convenience, I mean, and that's it. Digital and film can live together. They each serve a very unique purpose.
Now, the question that's coming to my head right now is, you could shoot film, you could shoot digital, and when doing weddings, ultimately what usually happens, you get the albums. Now, it's easier to take film and digital and put them together, and you could have the prints going back and forth, mix them and match them.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you work instant prints into that? They're not going into albums, are they?
So what I do is I'll scan them with a regular flatbed scanner.
Okay.
And really high resolution, and I can put them right in the album, and actually looks almost like you could pull it off of the page.
Really?
Yeah, with the printing, and it blends really well with everything. And at the end of the day, the client is getting a digital product. I mean, they're getting files. The 35 millimeter medium format are scanned negatives, so they get those. And typically after the wedding, I'll have a nice little presentation box. I'll put the instant film images in there and send them along.
Right. When you decide to go ahead and shoot with an instant camera, what do you find works? And let's say in the wedding environment.
So during the kind of creative portrait section of the day, I'll break out the SX70 or 680 or I1, depending on the situation. I don't know if there's anything particularly that I look for. I just kind of know it when I see it. So depending on the day, if it's a bright sunny day, I'll have the SX70 because ISO 160 is a little bit more. You need some more light than a 600 or the I1. But yeah, the folding cameras have pretty much been my two go-tos for the longest time, but the I1's changing that a little bit. It's nice to be able to do double exposures and the manual settings. It's something I had kind of dreamed of since the first time I shot instant film was.
And do you then give the photo? I mean, do you show to the photos of the bride and the couple then, or you just wait until later?
Sometimes, maybe at the end of the night, I'll like give them a little sneak preview.
The people ask to use the camera and.
Yeah, people. I mean, especially people born in the 80s and 70s, 80s, 90s. I think remember Polaroid fondly, this iconic white frame image. So really speaks to
A lot of
people.
nostalgia. Yeah.
I mean, all the time, it's people like are shocked. They're like, what is this? They're
People
confused.
are still surprised that it's back.
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, I mean, to
I mean,
me,
not in Bed-Stuy and Bushwick, of
yeah,
course. But
exactly. Yeah, but in Pennsylvania maybe and other places.
So, do you shoot interiors at all with it? Do you?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I like natural light. I mean, I use the
Mm-hmm.
flash when I have to, but the 680 and the I1 are really good for kind of window light situations or things like this, and especially, I'll use my handheld meter
Mm-hmm.
and see what the light is and dial it in on the I1, and it's really easy to handle tricky lighting situations.
I would imagine it also adds a nice piece of dialogue between you and the people you're photographing to have this
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
novel camera from way back when that you're using.
yeah, people are very confused by it because it looks new, but it's also an instant film camera. So
Yeah.
I don't think people know what to make of it always.
If you have your iPhone with you or whatever camera other than your Instant, what will you shoot with the Instant? What will you shoot with your iPhone? I mean, are there I like
That's a good
still lifes,
question.
Yeah, I mean,
when
I
use Instant,
I
but
feel like if it's worth taking, it's worth taking on any camera. So if I see something that catches my eye, something that I connect with, I'll use the instant camera. I mean, the iPhone it's rarely comes out on a daily basis for photos.
So what cameras do you carry around with you every day?
I pretty much always have an SX70 or 680 with me because they're small, they're easy to fit in the bag, and my Leica M3 with Tri-X usually. So
You're a man after my heart.
So, and my other question, I guess, is more for you, Patrick, but or either of you. Instant film was used for a lot of commercial purposes, and I used to work in the film business. So, every set designer, wardrobe, hair, they had a ring with a whole bunch of shots, so they can go back and make sure they had the same wardrobe for the video.
Yeah.
Have you seen any or been surprised by any commercial uses? Or is it still
Or
really
oddball
more
uses that you've seen people using
the
this
medical
for.
field is always
Yeah,
surprising.
it's funny. We actually, so the Spectre format film, especially, that was the format that was mostly industrial. So police used it, insurance agents, and also eye doctors and dentists. Dermatologists. So we've had some doctors order the Spectre film. Actually, some 600 film too. It depends on the cameras that they have. But Polaroid did make these big macro cameras for dentists and things like that to take photos of teeth and of eyes, and big retinal pictures. So we do get doctors who still are using those, and as I've said before, there's certain things that you can get with instant film that you can't get with digital, and some of these doctors have been doing this for years, and they're hesitant to move towards digital
When
just
those
because they
cameras
know what
cost
to expect.
thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right,
so.
right. We've had fashion photographers use our film for New York Fashion Week, for fashion design, things like that.
as tests or to
Tests,
just kind of
but also
incorporate
just
into the
for
work?
editorials and for articles,
yeah.
use in magazines, or for exhibitions.
Just the artistic aspect
right.
of it, to have something different.
One thing we didn't talk about earlier, maybe we can throw it out. Can you explain how the chemical process works within the film? Because
Sure.
In 50 words or less.
Okay. So one thing, our film, as we said before, was outward appearances aside, all new materials, but it works in the same way.
Right.
So every photo in the pack has an unexposed negative, okay? And then at the very bottom, one of the reasons, I mean, this wide part at the bottom of the frame is not just there for...
It's the chemical pod.
That's exactly. That's where the chemical pods are at the very bottom
The
of the
white
photo.
border,
It
which
serves
is a
a
little bit-
purpose. It's actually it's there for practical reasons. But the chemicals are contained. The developer chemistry are contained in these 3 different pods. So what happens is, you press the shutter button on your camera, it opens the shutter, exposes an image, depending on the camera, bounces off a mirror in the back of the camera, and then down onto the negative, exposes the image. Then the camera there's a picking arm in the back of the camera, which will push the photo forward. The rollers in the camera will then grab hold of the photo and pull it through, like a rolling pin or a steamroller. But every camera is the same concept, same mechanism, exactly. And basically the photo will be pulled through those rollers. The rollers break open the chemistry. The chemical pods at the bottom spread the developer paste up across the image, which has just been exposed on the negative, and that will begin the development process. Depending on the film, whether it's black and white or color, which is another thing I don't think I mentioned before, that we make black and white film in this format too.
You also make black and yellow film.
We do. We have some special editions. Yeah, we have black and yellow and some other ones. But depending on the film, whether it's black and white or color, the photo will then develop. The black and white film takes about 5 to 7 minutes to fully develop.
Oh yeah.
The photo will be like a blue color during when it first ejects.
What's the full curing time for these?
Around, I would say, as long as you keep them in a cool, dry place, the black and white, I think they'll probably be dry maybe in 24, 48 hours.
I think so.
Right? For it to fully set.
Because for the 8x10 I was reading, it's like a few
It's a little bit longer, right, because of the image surface is so much bigger, yeah. For that, for example, we recommend storing them upright so that they can, the chemistry isn't isn't pulling. Yeah, exactly, and it has a chance to sufficiently dry.
It's another aspect that is interesting. That there's a very physical nature to this. It's obviously mechanical with the camera, chemical, and
it's hands-on.
It's hands-on to some
It
degree.
needs to be handled.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably just shoot it, put it aside, and forget about it. But if you want, and I imagine there are people who experiment. They control how the chemicals seep into the image.
You can manipulate,
and temperatures probably make a difference too. So,
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be back and talk about the future of instant photography.
If you'd like to reach out to us with your questions or comments, email us at podcast@bhphoto.com.
Okay, we are back, having owned the original SX70 and having prints from a zillion years ago from my uncle's camera. They hold up pretty well. The original black and white, as long as you put that toxic goop on them.
Right.
Which we
None
don't
of that
really-
is necessary.
None of that's necessary.
No.
Yes, you need hazmat suits. They should have had them for the older stuff. They hold up very, very well. And I have a bunch of pictures from an SX70 and later from an SLR 680 that look remarkably good these days. And this is 30, 40 years down the line. If they faded, it wasn't much. And yes, they have been kept away from bright window light, UV light sources. They last. There is longevity. Any idea about the newer formulations? Because obviously it looks like the old, but it's new.
Right. So, I mean, in some ways, it's kind of hard to say because we're a young company. We've only been making film for 8 years. But as long as you store these properly, I mean, I have some sample images here. This one here, this photo of my wife, I took this about 3 years ago, and it looks the same as it did the day that I took it.
Okay.
And this is 3 years ago, 3 years worth of
Showing it around.
iterations, exactly. And this is a sample photo that I show at demos and events. But also, this is an earlier generation of the film. You know what I mean? So, as I mentioned earlier, the film is constantly going through changes and being tweaked, and the development time is being brought down. I mean, last year we had a film that took 40 minutes, a color film that took 40 minutes to fully finish processing, and it was a very dark blue color during development. Then last summer we had a film that was had a light blue emulsion during the development process, and it took about 30 minutes. Now we're at 2025, and it's a light bluish
So this
gray.
is an organic, ongoing project.
Yep. And we'll later this year or early next year, I'm sure we'll have a faster film. And also the color palette is constantly being tweaked. I mean, the photos now are much cleaner. They're much smoother.
Are you worried about getting them too good, too accurate?
I was just thinking
No,
about
that's
that
the
right,
thing,
because
too.
people
I
are buying
mean-
this for a reason.
Yeah, well, that brings me back to the comparison with Fuji. Fuji definitely has its own fan base, but the Fuji stuff, for me personally, is almost too
sterile,
straightforward. You know what I mean? The colors are just what you see is what you get, and our color palette is definitely different. As George said before, it's ethereal. I think that our goal is mostly to bring the development time down and to improve the light sensitivity. Now, the current black and white film we have is no longer light sensitive, so you don't need to shield it from light. The color film you do, but that's because there's more layers in each of the prints with the cyan and all the different layers in the print. So the two big things that our team overseas in the Netherlands at our factory are working on is bringing that development time down to similar to what it used to be with the Polaroid film, which is maybe 3-4 minutes eventually. And then also so that you don't have to shield it. So, you can, our film is mostly sensitive to sunlight. Artificial light's not going to affect it. So you do have to shield the photo if you're shooting outdoors, put it in a pocket or a bag or something while it develops. And, part of it, the experience is watching it develop. So, we're trying to get to that level where you'll be able to eventually shoot our film in sunlight, not shield it, and, it'll develop in about four minutes or so.
What about temperature ranges? Is this have a narrow development range?
Yeah, basically the way the Polaroid film was too. If you're shooting in very cold weather, you're going to get very low contrast images.
Well, what they had was
foggy.
in the lid of the camera, they had a thing that was called, but they used to call them the
cold
pit clip.
Yeah.
A cold, but they call them pit clips.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it was an aluminum frame, like
Yep.
a clamshell that you put the print into, and then stick it under your armpit and use your body heat to develop it.
That's what I do, and I think George
Yeah, I do
does
the same
too.
thing,
And
yeah.
If you're shooting in
Yep.
cool weather, just tuck it under your arm.
There
That's
you
what I do. Warm weather with the current film doesn't really affect it. If anything, it will help the emergence of the image speed up. So you'll get to see your image sooner with the warmer temperatures. So, as a rule, generally, I not with the black and white film, but with the color film, I'll tuck it under my arm anyway.
With the original Polaroids of this type, you'd have it'd be like a bluish white frame. Then you'd watch the picture come through this
Right.
white haze, and it really wasn't the picture coming through; is that white
Clearing.
film clearing.
Yep,
And it was a light block. Is it the same process here?
That's what takes so long.
Okay.
With our film is that opacifying agent, which is there to protect the negative. It takes longer for that to clear, and that's what we're working on bringing down. So the dark blue opacifier that we had last year took 40 minutes to clear, and then it was 30 minutes, and now
So these
it's
are
25,
instant
so-
prints for people who are not impatient.
Right. Well, the black and white is very fast to develop. In the black and white, you'll see yourself start to emerge, or you'll see your subject emerge in about 30 seconds. But then that blue color will still take about 5 minutes to fully clear.
It's sort of
with
the
black
magic
and
of
white.
watching a print come up in a darkroom. It's the same thing.
It's
And that's what a lot of
beautiful, yeah.
people just love about traditional analog photography is that magic of watching that image come up. You
pull
get
the
it here.
Yeah, you pull the negatives out of the tank and
Are you selling more cameras to younger people
It's
as
a
compared
mix,
to
honestly.
people who, like my generation, I grew up with them.
Well, a lot
and
of people
I saw them die, and now they're back.
Well, a lot of people, maybe older people, 30s, 40s, 50s, they might have a camera already that they forgot about and it's in their closet. So they find out that they can buy the film again and take it out of the closet. And in most cases, it still is going to work. The camera, the battery's in the cartridge, right? So all you need to do is put a pack of film in there. So we get older people who use it, but then we also get younger people too. We get people in their teens who never grew up with this medium.
They might as well be speed graphics these days. It's
but it's just
unknown
different
technology.
for them. Yeah, exactly. It's something that they maybe just missed. For kids born in the 90s, or even the 2000s. We're getting to a point where they're like in their teenage years now. Who never experienced this before and just want something different.
Somebody whose experience of a camera is a phone, this has got to be a unique thing.
It's incredible.
I think
I'm
that
sure it
kinda
blows their
speaks
minds.
to
yeah.
how amazing technology and what an amazing thing it is in general is that kids who've never seen it before, when they see it for the first time, are mystified and they want to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could speak on with my family. My daughter, who is 11,
she's
brought
perfect.
one to a birthday party. I brought it to the birthday party and passed it around, and they were blown away. And this speaks to the people who've never seen it before. But it's my feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, though, but in general, this is, well, let's call it a millennial thing. I don't know what the word is. You want it a hipster thing, but there's a lot of...
I didn't want to use the word.
Okay. But there's a lot of people in their 20s who are they're very familiar with digital photography. And like you were speaking earlier about LPs and this idea that the quality of analog systems, the uniqueness to some degree, and they want to incorporate it into their work. They're not going to, it's not one or the other, but that seems to me at this point anyway is kind of the main.
Yeah, I mean, we have people who are artists who use the film, but then again, we've talked a lot about technical things, so far today. But a lot of people, I think, don't even think about that. And I think George kind of touched on this too, is that for them, it's just they press a button, the photo ejects, and they can watch it develop with their friends. So you don't need to have this technical know-how, really. Right. You know what I mean? And
there's no electronics, no batteries that need to be charged. It's right there. It's
real.
I
mean, you just open it up and you start shooting. I mean, that's true for our camera too. I mean, you do need to give it a charge when it's out of the box, but it's very easy to use too, the i1. Just turn it on and start shooting. And so you don't need that technical know-how. And that's, I think, something that's always been true for this format is that, this format film has basically been for everybody for years, you know what I mean? And anybody can use it for whatever they want, whether they're using it to shoot weddings or they're using it to shoot models for fashion or they're using it to shoot their birthday parties, as you mentioned. It's really for everybody, and you can use it however you want.
For someone out there listening who is going to start, looking through closets and garage sales, do you suggest that they send their cameras to you guys, or they just start using them themselves?
Well,
and buying the film?
Really, you need to just get a pack of film to try to see if the camera works because of the fact that the battery's in the cartridge. Most cases, I would think that if you took good care of your camera and it's in your closet, if you break it out and put a pack of film in, it should be fine. If you do need camera repair, whether it's a 600 camera or an SX70, or even a Spectra, you could send it to Retrospect in Milwaukee. They're our source for cameras. Otherwise, if you wanted to, you could buy a camera from us. I mean, we do sell them refurbished, and they do come with a 1-year warranty. So anything technical that happens to happen to it.
I guess I asked this earlier, but do you buy back cameras? Then, if someone had a camera,
if somebody has a camera and you want to sell it too, you could contact Retrospect. They'd be interested in buying it for you to turn around and clean it up and test it. So again, I mean, we make film for the 600 Polaroid cameras, the SX70s, the Spectras. And now the I-type cameras.
Any possibility of coming out with peel apart?
You believe me, you're like the millionth person to ask me that.
Because I used to do the Polaroid transfers, which are magical.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be able to do that again.
Not us, unfortunately. At least not in the immediate future. I mean, we don't have the machinery. That film is made with different production machinery, which we don't have.
Well, check out the B&H site and, of course, on the Impossible site. I mean, the range of film is pretty impressive, and obviously the cameras that are available are pretty cool, nostalgic or otherwise.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's impossibleproject.com. Simple.
Any
address.
Other cameras coming out in the imminent future that we should
came
know
out
about?
with this?
Yeah, I mean this.
Yeah, I know, but this is a few months ago already.
Yeah, I mean we're still focused on the i1 now. It's a brand new camera. It's exciting. So
well, you got to push for the holidays coming up, and you got
No, this is a beautiful. First of all, even just as a party camera, because unlike every phone and point and shoot and DSLR mirrorless camera, you pull this thing out, you have somebody's attention.
That's a conversation
right then and
stimulator.
there. Right there. What is that?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, okay. I just want to throw one little story in as we end up here, as we wrap things up. A good friend of mine who has since passed worked for Polaroid his entire career, and he worked with Dr. Land. And one of the things that Dr. Land used to do on a very regular basis, no matter where he went, he had a leather satchel with the latest camera in it, film and everything else, and on the slightest provocation, he would open it up and take out the camera and show it to you and take pictures, and invariably gave the entire kit to whoever he was talking to, just to spread the word. And it's really kind of neat to hear this same sense of enthusiasm going on here, to take something like this and get real juiced about it and put it out there. And it's a successful product. It's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having us on. I mean, as I said, we want to see this do well, and we're here with this company because we love it and we believe in it, and we want to be using it into the future.
Great. What's your website, George?
GeorgeWeissThe3rd.com.
That's
All spelled out.
All spelled out,
Yep,
the
yep.
third.
George Weiss, the third.
And to check out more of the Impossible Project products, what's the website?
It's impossibleproject.com with a hyphen, impossible-project.com.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Patrick. Thank you, George. Thank you to my producers, John Harris and Jason Tables. And again, leave us a review on iTunes. We much appreciate it. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in today.